crazy, amazing, faith-building story. When I was a young mom, my husband and I decided that I would go back to school to become a nurse to help support our growing family. But before I could apply for nursing school, I had a couple of years worth of prerequisite classes that I had to attend. And it was hard. I had one baby at home already, and then I had 3 more in that time. So there were a couple of times that I went to school one day pregnant and came back for the next class not pregnant. And my grades were good, but they weren't perfect. Well, the only school that was feasible for me to attend was the school that was closest to my home. And I just, with all these kids at home, I couldn't travel an hour or so away to some of the other nursing schools. But this particular school was fairly prestigious, and their nursing program was hard to get into. And I had heard that you had to have pretty close to a 4.0 to even be considered. And I did not. But I called the Secretary of Nursing and to kind of plead my case, and I told her, I've had 3 kids and I've kept on going, and I feel like that shows some stick-to-itiveness, and it shows that I really want this, and that maybe I'm the type of student that you actually want in your program because it's so important to me. And just, is there anything that I could do to kind of bolster my chances even though my grades aren't perfect? And she said, no, and please don't even waste our time applying. So I did not have the heart or the courage to tell my husband that we had just wasted all of this time and money on education that I was not going to be able to finish. But I'm stubborn and I have faith. Mostly I'm stubborn. But I spent that whole summer just pleading with the Lord. I don't know how you're going to perform this miracle for me. I don't know how you're going to get me into this nursing program when it so obviously is impossible. But you have to. And I begged and pleaded with the Lord some more, and I got no answer. But I read my patriarchal blessing, and there's one sentence in there that says, "You will complete your education with joy and satisfaction." And I was neither joyous nor satisfied. And so I just kept begging and pleading with the Lord that entire summer. And every time that I started to get discouraged or doubtful, I would think, "You will complete your education with joy and satisfaction." Well, nothing happened. And I still didn't have the courage to tell my husband. But I have an aunt that's just a couple of years older than me, and we have kids that are roughly the same ages. And so a lot of times in the summer we would get the kids together and go to a park and let them play. And usually we went to the park in Spanish Fork. But this one morning we decided, why don't we go to Salem Pond? We'd never been there before. And we wanted to go kind of early in the morning because it was August. So we got the kids loaded up and in 2 minivans, and we drove to Salem Pond, parked in the parking lot, let the kids play, and they played for an hour or so. And then when it was time to load everybody back up, we got to the parking lot and we went to put everybody in the cars, and a parade came by. And so that was kind of a funny coincidence. We laughed a little bit and let the kids watch the parade. Well, in the middle of that parade, a girl that I had gone to school with came by holding a banner that announced a brand new nursing school that was opening about a mile away from the school that I had put all my hopes and dreams into. So as soon as the parade was over, we loaded the kids in the car, I rushed home, and I called that girl on the phone and asked her to tell me all about this new nursing program. And because I was one of the very first people to apply, I was one of the very first people to be accepted into that nursing program. And if that's not miracle enough, here's the fairy tale part of the story. I don't remember seeing tons of cars. We pulled right into the parking lot of the pond, and there weren't throngs of people. There were maybe a few other families playing, but really it was quiet, and the kids played. I didn't grow up in Salem, so I had never been to Salem Days. I didn't know when Salem Days was, but I've been to several since, and you can't drive to the parking lot. They close all the streets down for a couple of blocks surrounding the pond, and there are thousands of cars parked up and down all of the other roads because people park in the street and then walk 2 or 3 blocks to the pond. And I don't know to this day how the Lord accomplished that, because I don't know how we were able to drive right to the parking lot and not be stopped by the police, and we didn't pass hundreds of cars, and we didn't pass hundreds of people. They have a pancake breakfast at the pond on the morning of the parade. They have a 5K run that goes around the pond the morning of the parade, and we didn't see any of this. I don't know how the Lord accomplished that, but I do know that had we pulled in and seen hundreds of cars lining the street, if we'd have seen throngs of people gathered, we'd have turned around and gone back to the park we normally went to. And I would have missed the chance to see that there was a new nursing program. And I would have missed my chance to be a nurse. And I tell my kids all the time, if it's important to you, it's important to the Lord. So have faith.